First, let's start with this case. I, 27, am a bridesmaid in my friend's upcoming wedding, which is less than a week away. It's a small, budget-conscious wedding with 6 bridesmaids. We've covered almost all of our expenses ourselves. The bride contributed $100 toward our dresses and paid for any required alterations. But the rest, shoes, bags, jewelry, and accessories, has been entirely out of pocket for us. The bride also specified the color and style for these items. Initially, we were told we would be doing our own makeup and hair for the wedding day, which seemed reasonable. I'm quite capable of doing my own soft curls, which is the style the bride requested. However, I recently found out that the bride booked professional hairstyling for all the bridesmaids and expects us to pay for it. The cost is $150 each for soft curls. One of the bridesmaids, who is currently unemployed, reached out to the bride and explained that she couldn't afford the expense, especially so close to Christmas. She offered to do her own hair, as she's very skilled and even did her own hair for her wedding. The bride's response was that getting your hair done is non-negotiable. I believe that if I'm the one paying for it, it is negotiable. This situation has caused some tension, as a few of us feel frustrated about being asked to cover another expense without prior discussion, especially considering how much we've already spent for this wedding. We're trying to negotiate alternatives with the bride, but she's standing firm on this. I've spoken to some friends about the situation, and opinions have been mixed. Some are shocked that we're being asked to pay for anything wedding-related at all, while others think I agreed to these obligations when I accepted the role of bridesmaid, although, to be fair, I wasn't actually asked to be a bridesmaid. That's another story. For context, I've never been part of a bridal party before, so I don't know what's considered normal. Am I in the wrong if I refuse to pay for and get my hair done on the wedding day? Update: I managed to find out the hairstylist details and did some digging. It turns out the $150 per person is her actual rate for bridal events, a classic wedding tax situation, as her standard charge for soft waves outside of weddings is $70. While I feel reassured that I'm not being overcharged to subsidize the bride's own hair, it makes even less sense why she won't let us opt out. I also compared her pricing to other salons, and her bridal rate is about $50 higher than average for the same style. This still doesn't change the fact that I don't want to pay for a service I neither want nor need. Let's start judging. Honestly, I suspect she found a stylist willing to do bride's expensive hair makeup for free if she had the costs covered by doing 6 soft curls for $150 each. She can't let any of you back out because that money is really going towards her stuff. You're not in the wrong. Weddings are expensive, but if the bride insists on professional hair, she should be paying for it, especially if you've already spent so much. Soft curls aren't worth $150, especially when you can do them yourself. You're not in the wrong. If a bride has a specific vision and requirements, she should be paying for it. It's normal for bridesmaids to pay for their own dresses, but not the accessories if they have to be specific. It's not normal for a bride to require a hair or makeup appointment and make the maids pay for it. At all. I'm a bride with a wedding coming up, and I'm offering to pay for hair and makeup for my maids if they want it done, but also allowing them to do it themselves if they feel comfortable enough to have it the way I am asking. Up in low bun if they have long hair, or styled neatly for those who have short hair. I did talk to those who have brightly colored hair, and they are willing to have their color refreshed the week before the wedding, and said they would pay for it themselves. I am gifting them necklaces, but their shoes are whatever they want, within color scheme, and they are paying for them. I don't even care if they've already been worn. Their dresses are floor length. I want my girls to be comfortable, especially since my MOH just told me she's pregnant and due the month after my wedding. You're not being unreasonable. You can style your hair well, and some people honestly can't afford $150. That's ridiculous. You say this is a budget bride, but she isn't. Budget brides don't make anyone else pay outlandish fees like this for their wedding. Next up, it sounds like you've been carrying a heavy load throughout this pregnancy, managing both the physical and emotional demands largely on your own. It's completely understandable that you feel hurt and frustrated by the lack of support from your child's father, especially when you've had to handle important matters like genetic testing without his involvement. Regarding the baby's name, you're absolutely within your rights to make that decision, especially since you've been the one shouldering the responsibility of this pregnancy from the beginning. Naming a child is a deeply personal decision, and if he hasn't been actively present for the journey so far, it's fair for you to feel that his input at this late stage doesn't carry the same weight. Parenthood starts long before birth, and it's natural to want a partner who is fully engaged in every step of the process. Your feelings about this situation reflect the effort and care you've already put into preparing for your child's arrival. If naming your baby is a decision that feels important to you because of everything you've done alone, you shouldn't feel obligated to compromise now. However, if you want to encourage future involvement, you could open a dialogue. For instance, you might say, "I've already chosen a name because I've been managing this pregnancy largely on my own, but I'm open to discussing a middle name together or other meaningful ways you can be involved moving forward." This allows you to set boundaries while still leaving space for co-parenting collaboration. Ultimately, it's your decision, and you're not wrong for prioritizing what feels right for you and your child. You've been strong and proactive throughout this journey, and that's what matters most. Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong, but it's probably time to decide exactly what you do and don't want from him as a co-parent, and begin as you mean to go on. Don't chit-chat with him about the baby if you don't want him to feel like he gets to do what he wants with her. Don't involve him in some decisions unless you want him to be involved with the others. He's only interested in cute stuff now, but who knows how that will change. And don't invite him to join you at the hospital if you aren't okay with him picking a name and filling out the birth certificate behind your back. r/Name Nerds is full of stories of fathers doing just that. And get custody, support, and parenting time ironed out in the courts regardless of how you're cooperating now, before the baby is old enough to be aware of it. r/Parenting is full of parents who have to do so after years of resentment buildup, and that's never a good thing. You're not in the wrong. I'm usually gung-ho about people cooperating to choose a name and starting parenting as they mean to go on. But this guy's already failing to be supportive in so many ways. So screw him. Get custody formally sorted out. Get the child support you're due. Don't let him in your delivery room, but pick someone who will actually help you. And name your child yourself. Because parenthood doesn't start after birth. It starts with the pregnancy. He doesn't become a father until she is born. Why would you involve someone who isn't the father yet in naming the child? Use his dumb logic against him. You're not in the wrong if he has not shown interest in helping you through the pregnancy with the issues you have faced alone. I can't fault you for choosing whatever name you like. Sounds like so far, his only contribution has been sperm. I would just recommend that you have an honest conversation with him about how you feel and your plans for naming the baby. Next up, for context, I'm in my mid-20s and share custody of my 2-year-old with my ex-partner. Earlier this week, I received 2 urgent calls from him asking me to answer my phone. When I finally picked up, he was upset and angry because he believed our child might be developing hand, foot, and mouth disease. To provide some background, a week before this, my younger brother, who lives in the same house as my child and me, caught hand, foot, and mouth disease at school from his teammates. I informed my ex about this to keep him in the loop and ensure he was aware of the situation. Fast forward to this week. It was my ex's scheduled day to have our child. He usually has her 1 day a week due to his long work hours, while I care for her the rest of the time. He called, blaming me for our child potentially getting sick and accusing me of not taking proper precautions. I explained that I had done my best by limiting contact with my brother, disinfecting surfaces with wipes, and using plenty of hand sanitizer. Despite this, he insisted that he no longer wanted to bring our child back to my house, claiming it would endanger her since my brother lives here. I tried to reason with him, pointing out that if our child was already sick, it wouldn't matter where she stayed. I also mentioned that my brother was already better and back at school. He argued further, But I reminded him that his busy work schedule would likely prevent him from taking care of her, meaning he would have to rely on a family member to watch her. Later that evening, as it was time for him to return her, I called and asked, "Are you going to bring her back at the agreed-upon time, or should I come to pick her up?" Instead of answering, he started arguing again. Eventually, I said I would pick her up, but he replied, "Bet I won't answer." Frustrated, I told him that if he didn't return her as scheduled, I would have to involve the police. Now he's furious with me. He says I'm evil, claims he can't look at me the same way, and has threatened to pursue full custody. He also said that if he gets custody, I'll never hear from him or our child again. This situation has left me wondering if I overreacted by threatening to call the authorities. Additional details: we don't currently have a formal custody arrangement through the courts. However, we have a child support hearing scheduled for next month because the state pursued him due to my receiving public assistance. I'm now realizing that child support and custody are separate matters, and I'll need to file for custody to establish a formal schedule and legal guidelines. I want to thank everyone who has shared advice on how to navigate this process. This is all very new to me, and I've been trying to educate myself to ensure I make informed decisions moving forward. Your input has been incredibly helpful. Let's start judging. Please note, before continuing to read my post, that I wrote this post before AP added that there was no legally binding custody agreement. We all know this now, but it was not part of the OP's post. I've clarified in my later comments. You're not in the wrong at all. He's threatening to keep your child beyond his scheduled time. You warned him that if he did such a thing, you would call the police. He's breaking the custody agreement, so the police will be on your side, and his doing that will likely prevent him from winning full custody of your child. In fact, at this point, there's a good chance that a judge would award you scheduled visitation for your ex with your child. He'd no longer have the ability to threaten you with such nonsense. Just because he doesn't understand how she got sick and how it wasn't anything to do with your ability to properly care for your child, doesn't mean that a judge is going to agree with his faulty conclusion. And even if he was to get full custody, all you'd have to do is mention his threats, and the court would make sure he understands that if he leaves with your child without permission, he would be brought up on charges of kidnapping. He can't legally keep you from seeing your child, full custody or not. You're not in the wrong. It's not harsh to threaten to call the police when your ex isn't abiding by your custody agreement. If he won't bring your child back, getting the police involved is the right next step. Keep all this information and correspondence, and then talk to your lawyer. I'd talk to the police as well, just to make them aware of the situation and possibly preemptively contact CPS and let them know what's going on in case he decides to try that route. You're not in the wrong. He failed the agreement and kids get sick. Neglect and endangering her would be refusing care or telling her to go around and lick people who are sick. Not, hey, just be aware this has occurred and she may have been exposed. Next up, I'm a 29-year-old woman, and my family has a long-standing tradition of hosting a big Christmas gathering every year, with the highlight being a white elephant gift exchange. It's always been lighthearted and fun, but this year my family decided to raise the price limit for gifts to $250. I was honestly shocked when I heard this. While I understand that prices have gone up with inflation, $250 feels excessive for a white elephant exchange. The idea of spending that much money on a single gift, especially for something that's supposed to be more quirky and fun than meaningful or extravagant, is completely out of my budget. This year has been financially tight for me due to unexpected medical bills and other life expenses. After paying for essentials, there's barely anything left, and the thought of spending $250 on a gift is unrealistic. On top of that, we're still expected to buy gifts for individual family members outside of the exchange, which adds even more financial pressure. When I voiced my concerns to my mom, she said I was being petty and that it's just one gift. My dad chimed in, saying I'm overreacting and that it's not about the price but the spirit of Christmas. While I do agree with the sentiment of focusing on the spirit of the holiday, $250 is still a lot of money to spend on a single gift. Some of my siblings think I should just suck it up and join in because it's about being together as a family. Others agree that it's a steep price but are still participating, since the majority of the family went along with it. I explained to my mom that I feel like I'm being excluded from the tradition because of my financial situation. If I can't participate in the gift exchange, I'm not sure I even want to go. The idea of sitting there awkwardly while everyone else exchanges expensive gifts feels humiliating. I don't want to make a scene or cause drama, but I also don't want to feel out of place at a family gathering that's supposed to be fun and inclusive. For context, there will likely be 18 to 25 people at the gathering, and with the additional expectation of buying gifts for family members, the financial burden feels overwhelming. Am I the bad person if I decide to sit this one out? Edit. To clarify, $250 is the minimum amount my family agreed to for the white elephant gift. I don't think a maximum amount was even discussed. Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. I get it. Would be very uncomfortable to be the only one who couldn't afford it. Tell your dad you will come if he gives you the 250 pounds. You're not in the wrong. Our family has a rule about gifts. Take care of the kids. Adults don't swap gifts for this exact reason. We have very well-off individuals and some who are on the paycheck-to-paycheck struggle. Your family is being dumb, and I would stay home, make my favorite comfort food, and do exactly crap all less. You're not in the wrong. That's a shockingly big price tag for Xmas white elephant, unless you are a lottery winner. Combined with the fact that you have actual gifts to buy, I'd message the whole family on one group chat and say, I've been advised the gift amount this year for white elephant is $250. I can't afford that, so I'm priced out of white elephant this year. Sorry, guys. Please take me out of the white elephant list for this year. Have done this on a group chat so no one includes me mistakenly. Then sit back and watch the chat blow up. Some nana or aunt will be outraged and kick off for you, and I bet this will encourage others to opt out too. Look for a $5 gift in a charity shop that could be $250, an artwork, for example.